Hey gang, it's your GM Drakeen here with another homebrew. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe to the video if you can. It really helps. Talking about magical items that you can buy with your starting wealth, starting equipment of 750 gold, which we've talked about as the maximum here from the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is what this is from. So I'm not obviously going to talk about every single item here. It really just depends on what kind of campaign you're running, what you want to emphasize. Some of the items which are listed here you may not recognize are pulled from these sources on the right. The top one, Encyclopedia Magica, you might be familiar with, is a really, I think, a must really for any DM if you want some ideas. It's got like, I don't know, for over a period of I don't know how many years, every magical item that was released. So that's a really cool thing. The books are a little harder to acquire. You can probably get them on eBay, but they're a little pricey. And then Thieves Guild is an amazing website you should definitely check out if you haven't already. It's got sources on there like, information about deities. It's got, magical items pulled from the Sane Magic Price Guide that I've talked about. So the Sane Magic Price Guide is one of the sources they use for pricing their magical items. And lastly, the complete equipment manual, it introduces a lot of items like the bandolier, which they describe as a container for carrying small objects like darts, daggers that your characters can wear. Catch, which is a container for carrying javelins, things like that. So it really, really just depends, what type of character, what type of campaign you want to participate. Some, to me personally, some of the items that stand out, I think anything that deals with illusions, like if I were playing a bard, I would definitely want an instrument of illusions. Illusions are very, 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 very useful. If I was playing a wizard, I'd want the enduring spell book because I want to just make sure nothing happens to my spell book. And things can happen. I have had DMs make me roll a bunch of saving throws if I was carrying a bunch of scrolls and I got, hit with a fireball or something like that. So, those types of things can happen. It just really depends on what you're emphasizing. If you're emphasizing, maybe you want, I know I talked about armor in the last video, maybe you want armor of gleaming. Maybe that's more, or smoldering armor or something like that. It just depends on how stylized your game is. And that's going to govern your choices. That's going to govern how you play your character, how you, what kind of DM you're working with. So, and I've talked about some of these items in previous versions. Some of these items I let you use as magic weapons. Like the Staff of Adornment can be used as a quarterstaff. Same with the Wand of Pyrotechnics. Um, you know, and most of these I think you should recognize. I think Plainforged Steel Guard is a homebrew item. It actually gives you advantage on saving throws versus planar effects. Like if you're in the nine hells and you want to guard against the effects of the nine hells, it gives you advantage on those saving throws, which is nice. So it really just depends on what kind of game you're in and what kind of game you're running. Sometimes games are more combat or exploration based, and some things are more atmospheric and role playing, like Curse of Strahd, which I'm about to run in later this year. I hope you guys can check that out. But let's talk about a few of the really items I want to emphasize here. Ammunition. So I feel like this is definitely something if you're playing an archer, you want to explore. Now, adamantine has an increased crit range in my campaign. I get adamantine weapons crit on a 19 or a 20. So the word used when you're using ammunition, when you fire it, it's magical when you fire it, but after it's been fired, it's no longer magical according to the Dungeon Master's Guide. So that's why the word used is here. Mithril ammunition can be fired out to long range without disadvantage. So these items retain their properties, so they still have an increased crit range and all that. They just are no longer magic items. Tracer ammunition is taken directly from Pathfinder. It lights people up, I think, with a sticky, glowing substance. Walloping ammunition is very, very, very useful for bringing down flyers. If they fail a saving throw, they go prone. These other alchemical arrows are pulled directly from the comprehensive equipment manual, so you can look those up, and those are pretty good as well. So I'm not going to obviously go through every item, but I just wanted to make you guys aware. I added a few things here as well. Potion of Mage Armor I pulled from Dungeons and Dragons Online. It's pretty obvious what that does. Potion of Ogre Power is pretty obvious what that does. But Potion of Sea Invisibility, I homebrewed that. It's obvious what that does. Poison Antidote is pretty cool. So I pulled this from Complete Alchemist, which is a very old D&D source. And the lesser antidote has a 75% chance of neutralizing poison, and the greater antidote has a 95% chance. These mind crystals are one-time use. You can use like sorcerer, meta magic functions for that. And I think that's pretty much it. But also, PCs can create healing antitoxin under the rules in Xanathars. So that's something you can do. I'm going to get into something even more useful. Scrolls. So scrolls are pretty freaking amazing. I think they're really underutilized. I don't think people really realize the full potential of scrolls. Now, PCs can actually make scrolls. It's one of the best things you can do. With your downtime, is make scrolls that are on your spell list. So these are the costs of buying scrolls, and we're going to get into some of the functionality of scrolls here that I've talked about in another video. So if a spell is on your class spell, you can read the scroll or cast the spell without providing any material components, right? So it's actually the scroll that's using casting the spell, not you. Okay, so I introduced something called allowing characters to memorize scrolls, and why would you want to do that? Say if you get a scroll of Featherfall. Now, you can't use a scroll of Featherfall as you're falling, right? Because it's a reaction, and scroll's probably in your backpack, right? So to add to the current rules, I don't take anything away. I'm not changing the rules. I'm just adding. I allow people to memorize scrolls, and here are the rules for that. So you can attune to the scroll. Doesn't require an attunement slot. Locks the spell in the creature's mind. Thereafter, you may cast a spell as if you had read the spell scroll without requiring the use magic item action or having the scroll in hand with the scroll stats. As we just talked about, it's the scroll casting the spell. You can only lock the spell in memory if the spell is one you could normally cast. Okay, if it's got to be on your spell list, you got to be able to high enough level to cast it. After casting, the spell fades and the scroll crumbles to dust and is no longer locked in the mind of the creature that attuned to it. Okay, even if it's a spell that's higher level, it's on your list, but it's at a higher level, and you can't cast higher level spells yet. You can't cast that either. The spell is still affected by counterspell and the like, and if the scroll is taken from the creature, the spell memorization is lost. So if someone steals the scroll from you, it's gone. Okay. No cross concentration checks are required. Like all magical items, item itself casting spell, not the wielder of the item. And a creature can utilize a number of scrolls no greater than the spell slots they possess. So if you have 3 first level spell slots, you can memorize 3 first level scrolls, and that's it. Okay, so there is a limit to the number of scrolls you can memorize. And lastly, the creature may also unattune from the scroll in the normal way to remove the spell from memory. So I brought this into the game to allow some, increased functionality. This also allows you to utilize different spells you may not normally pick up or carry or have the space for in your repertoire. So that's it. That's my spiel for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please like the video, leave a comment, and hope to see you guys at the gaming table. Take care.